Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hot Mess Express. I am your humble junior conductor, Sarah Cat. Tonight we are going to be doing a little bit of fun stuff with my dino friend here. He is actually going to be the pet of the big bad evil guy in my in-person campaign. So I want to make him look a little bit less like the Jurassic Park toy that he started as, and kind of try and move it a little more toward something a little scarier. So I started by giving him a very light dry brushing in black. That way, anything else that I do will kind of just be flavor to it. He was very orange when I first got him, and as you can see, not so orange anymore. He is articulated a bunch. You can move him around, his tail wobbles, and his little arms move. So, first thing I think I want to do here is to give him a little bit of battle damage. You know, I want it to feel like he's seen some stuff. So, first thing I think we're going to do tonight is we are actually going to go ahead and actually amputate one of his limbs. Poor little guy. So got some handy dandy little snips here, and he is now one hand down. Obviously, at that point, you got to do a little bit of touch up here. You can see that, well, you may not be able to see. Oh, God. You can see how bright the fresh cut plastic is compared to the rest of him. And we definitely don't want that. We don't want him to look all bright and shiny and new. So first thing I'm going to do is just get a little bit. I have all my paints here. Wait, I'm not used to working live. I'm used to video games. Oh, God. I have a great big head and little tiny arms. So I'm just going to add the smallest bit of red here. We're going to do it kind of a dry brush. But how's everyone's week going? I know it just started for everyone. Mine is pretty good so far. Nothing crazy or unexpected happening yet. And I have my handy dandy little scrap paper over here to wipe things off a bit. And then let's go in. Oh, that's the worst. Coming back from a vacation like that is miserable. But awesome that you had the time off. Let's do a little tiny bit here. Darken it up a bit. Give it a little bit more of an old wound sort of look. Trying to model it to match the rest of his skin. I always end up with paint all over me because I just use whatever's handy, including my thumbs or my palm to get any excess paint. Okay. And then a teeny tiny bit more. I'll go in with just the tiniest touch of brown. I feel like the weirdest Bob Ross in the world right now. God, can you imagine Bob Ross doing miniature painting? Okay, so you should be able to see the little stump here is now definitely looking much less freshly cut. I'll probably fiddle a bit more with it. I'm just going to give it a little bit of time to settle in. So my next step is actually the one that is going to be the hardest for me. Got my glue gun over here. And what I want to do is I want to add some areas that are going to be scar tissue, right? So I want it to be raised. And I couldn't figure out how to make that work. And then I remembered, Sarah, you have a glue gun. So we're going to try using the glue gun. Now the first way I want to try it, you'll see I have all my pins and stuff ready here for fiddling around a bit. But what I want to do first is create kind of a blob on my cardboard. And that's going to start to set pretty quick. But that should give me just a couple seconds here to be able to just kind of goo some on. Let me turn him a bit so you guys can see as well. But that should give me a chance to do some scar tissue with the glue before it fully sets, so that we can actually have some weird little extra flesh. So we get a nice little glob there. And I'm going to put you on the paper just in case you drip. There we go. Ooh. I like that. Then once it fully sets, obviously it'll be much easier to do. We'll just go back over the same place here. but it'll be a change, I think, enough in the skin texture that it's going to definitely look like something. And if I don't like it, the great thing is on, you know, on plastic, the hot glue is actually just going to peel right off after it dries if I don't like how it is. So, my goodness. And then once I have it on there, oh, see, it's starting to set up already. And just so you guys know, typically handling hot glue with your hands is not going to be your best plan because, shockingly, guys, hot glue is hot. I know, who would have thought, right? But yeah, it's actually very hot. Okay, so let's see. Maybe I can see it better over here? Because I'm used to looking to my left for chat anyway. I'm trying a new little setup since turning all the way over to look where my computers are is a bit of a pain. So I'm trying to put it on my tablet and see if I can get it to work that way. I think this is going to be our last little hurrah. Let's do one on his rib area. Nope, that's not going to work. But again, plastic, so it just pops right off. So we can probably get away, oops, we can probably get away with a bit smaller glob next time. Okay, so back to the hot glue. Let's make another blob. There we go. Back to my pin. Now let's put something on his side here. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm just applying it and then just kind of pulling it along to create kind of that look I want. And then any of the little strings and stuff I'm just popping right off. So it's not going to show up too much yet, and it may not end up showing much at all anyway. I'll be honest, brand new, but I wanted something to kind of dress it up, a little bit of, you know, battle damage or something, and then I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to put some paint on those. That's some of the colors I've got in my little palette over here. See, so if he's chasing me, I'm shooting, so let's put something right on his face. I hope it doesn't end up looking like buggers. That would suck. Okay, then we'll put a nice big chunk over here on the other side of his face. And let's see if we can get that to kind of spread a little bit. I really should get a dedicated pair of tweezers just for this kind of work, but you know, that would be too much forethought, right? Okay. So, what do I have? Let's get one of my little teeny tiny guys. Get a little bit of red on here onto the brush. Oh god, I'm not facing the camera at all. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's start back here. We're going to pretend I have a steady hand. And then we're just going to go right over where that glue is. Just to give it a little something that looks different from the rest of his skin. Oh, this is really detailed work for someone who has a tremor. It's okay though. We're gonna power through. We're gonna have some fun. So there we go. First couple battle wounds there. Loving it. Actually, I like that. I kind of like that idea, Godzilla, and I think I may have to borrow it Because that sounds like a really fun idea. Okay, so we've got a little piece here. Yep, missed a bit there, but that's okay. That's okay. What is it that Bob Ross used to say? There are no mistakes, just happy accidents. So I'm putting on the red first, so I have kind of that little base. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to touch it up with a little bit of black and give it a little something that, a little age to it. But, you know, first step is always just kind of seeing how it looks raw. I don't hate it. I do like these. And I think I'm going to try some battle damage on the other side here that's just paint rather than having any kind of raised flesh. We'll see if which one I like better. And then I'm definitely going to be giving him some red around his teeth. I think that was it. Oh, nope, there's a little bit there. Because right now it just looks like a bunch of fresh slashes. That's not quite the look I'm going for. Not sure if I like it as dull as it seems to be drying. Let me try a little second bit here. The nice thing is, because I am going so light on it, that it is drying very, very quickly. So I'm going to be able to just pop in and do second, third, or any number of coats. Yeah, I'm going to be going in with the brown, but I want kind of that raw flesh look for underneath it. But I'm going to be going in with some browns. I'm going to be going in with both some sienna and some ochre that I've already got prepped. And then a little bit of a black wash over top that I'm planning on kind of sponging off most of it, just to kind of give it a little more uniform appearance to the rest of the skin. You know, like you got hurt a while back, and this is what was left in that. The downside is, of course, that hot glue is not known for its ability to take paint. But I figured it was worth a try. It gives me that kind of lifted look that I like, you know, for actual full scar tissue. So, oh no, swears, my ears, guys. There we go. That's a little bit better. It's turning a good bit better already, just with the second little coat of the red. So happy with that. Give you a little bit of a clean, get some paint on my hands. What's a painting sesh without some paint on your hands, you know? Okay. Yeah, no, it definitely makes things much easier. So let's try, actually, before I put the red away, as it were, let's try a little work on the tail here. Sit on the side where I can kind of hide it if I need to. Ah! Oh no! Oh good. It didn't fall brush first, so you know, that's easy. Where's my little stipple sponge? go. Okay. I like cleaning as I go while I'm painting. I find that it comes a little bit easier at the end when I have to, actually do the full cleanup, my palette and everything. Come on. Come on. There we go. Again, I'm just trying to do a light brushing over it. Well, so far I'm not thrilled with that one, but we'll see. I'll be getting back to the black in a bit. But for now, we're going to hit the scarring with some browns. We start a little bit of light, and then we'll go into a bit of a darker one. I'm not trying to do an exact match for the skin tone, but enough that it looks old. Go a little bit darker. There we go. This may have been a poor decision. This is ending up looking kind of like a stripe instead of an old wound. That's okay. You can't really see the raised portion. So on camera it looks a little bit weird, but in person it is getting some nice reddish, like old wound quality. Not sure about that that dark brown though. Let's try and clean it up just a little bit. Oh, that's funny. The ochre is almost an exact match for his skin. That's going to be handy tidying up around it. Okay. Not terrible. On camera, I'm not sure it's going to read well. But in person, this is actually starting to look like an actual scar, guys. Look at me go. Woohoo! That's actually kind of what I was hoping for. Now, for the final step, we're going to go back to our red again. This time we're going to use the tiniest little touch. I'm just going to do a little bit in there just to give it again. We want it to look like a wound. And maybe it's not fully healed. Wow, now I'm really sounding like Bob Ross. Maybe this wound isn't fully healed yet. Maybe it's just, getting to that point where it's almost good, but not quite. Or maybe there's just a little bit of blood still that trickles through a little bit. Remember, your wounds may be different. So if it doesn't look like mine, don't you even worry. Okay. I'm liking that. What do you guys think? There are several boxes. I had this for carrying around one of my first bad guy minis. I got my computer over here. All the cabling that I'm terrible at managing. Okay, I think that's a good start. So let's liven it up. So that's going to be my red. Back to our ochres. And give a little bit of brown. go in for a little bit of that darker. We don't mind that we're doing a little bit of a wet blend here. And the tiniest little bit we're going to use of that ochre. Just to give a little bit of dimension here. Because you know how scar tissue is usually a little bit lighter than the tissue surrounding it. If you didn't know, now you do. We're just trying to give a little contrast to the space around it. Oh, on the back of the dino right here, yeah, that makes him bite. Roar. And he actually roars. You may not be able to hear it through the microphone, but if you push it down far enough, he roars. So what's funny is the standard size minis that players will use in D&D. Let me pull out my mini for my character. I play a cleric. I play a cleric, so this is her. I don't paint my minis because I'm terrible at little tiny details like that, but it's funny enough. Like, just to give you a sense of scale there, this is not a normal sized T-Rex in terms of what the characters would typically face. So that's actually my favorite part, and that's why it is going to be the pet of the Big Bad Evil. The Big Bad Evil, they may never end up fighting. Well, if you consider this is a typical T-Rex, I believe, is considered huge. So what would that be, 10 by 10 or 15 by 15? If we look at our little mat on the table, right? One of the feet is 15 by 15. So that is significantly larger. Let me see if I can get a good to scale there. I mean, it feels right that it's that much bigger, but it is definitely bigger than they would be listed in the books. Because you figure, I mean, if we go on the very conservative side that my character is 5 feet tall, right? So that puts us 5, 10, 15, 20 feet, over 20 feet at the hip. And as I recall, they weren't quite that tall. But that's okay. That's okay. Gargantuan beastie, not a bad thing. Anyway, what were we doing? Right. We were working on coming back to you. Got the light on. Now let's go in with that little tiny brush. Come on. Sit still for me. What I should really do is make a much darker red, use a little bit of my black, and just blend a little custom bit. It's actually not a bad idea. Do I have? I don't. But I have pins. Pins will work. Nah, I'll just use a brush. Brush will be fine. Right? Right? Yeah, brush will be fine. So let's grab a bit of the red and mush it in here. And then we'll scoop up some of this black and bring that over here. Give it a little blend. So we get a much darker red. I mean, I am super lazy. But we do have the 5e, I have the 5e rulebook there, uh, sitting less than 5 feet away from me online. Not hashtag non-spawn, not spawn, or whatever it is. But D&D Beyond is my best friend at this point. Okay. Let's. Ow. Hey guys, hot glue guns are hot. Did you know that? And just the tiniest back to our ochre. I really should get a bigger palette, make life a little bit simpler. There we go. That one's not going to be as noticeable. That one's mostly healed. What I'm talking about there is this right here. It looks kind of like just a little booger, or maybe it's like a nostril or something, but you can see it's not matched on both sides. So it's something going on there. And again, because it is hot glue, I am a pro streamer, although I've never been paid for it. But because it is hot glue, since I'm not really fond of that, I'm just going to go ahead and pop that off. Now there's just going to be a little bit of discoloration on his nose, and that's fine. I can live with that. Okay. Oh. Now. What is it Bob Ross always says? Beat the Jesus out of it? No, beat the devil out of it. My bad. My bad. Okay. Let's go in with a bit of our fun little red-black mixture. Come here, buddy. Give some age to this. Okay, dig it. Flip back to our red. This time I'm not going to do the whole thing, I'm just giving it a little touch. Okay. One thing I always recommend when you're doing painting of any sort, if you're anything like me, make sure you're wearing something you don't mind getting paint on, because goodness knows you're probably going to end up with a little bit of paint on you at some point. And rather than ruining, something you really like, wear something you don't mind if it gets some paint on it. And just like with the last one, I'm going in to try and give it a little definition by putting a touch of, that new skin look around the outer edge. Ooh, that's a little too much. Okay. And we'll touch it up with just a tiny bit of the brown. Just going to go straight to the dark this time. And finishing touches, same as before. Back in with just a touch of our red. Okay. You can see something definitely happened to his poor little snout right there. Got stabbed or something, our poor little guy. Hey, that is fair. You know, given how old dinosaurs were, not surprising that we don't know a bunch of stuff about them. Okay. There we go. Okay. Looking good so far. Liking the way this is starting to turn. I don't want to go overboard, so I'm going to try something a little different this time. I'm actually going to go in. Let's grab a little bit of the brown. A little bit more of the lighter brown. I'm going to try something a little crazy here, guys. We're going to try sponging. And then I'll go back in afterward. And I will add back in just the tiniest bit of red. That way it looks like he's been hurt. Maybe some bruising. Something's going on there. Okay, touch of red. Make it look a little angry. Angry little wound. Okay, okay. Not sure how I feel about it. But did a sponging technique with the browns and the ochres. And yeah, it doesn't look terrible. I don't hate it. Which is, you know, always a good step. Okay. I want to add one more little touch of red to these before I go in for a little more blending. There we go. Yeah, I don't think the sponging was bad in terms of getting some ochre and some brown over it. Let's do it again here. A little bit there. A little bit here. Bloop. Picking up a little bit of that red, which I don't hate. I don't hate it, guys. That's always nice. And go back to our little liner brush. Pick up that tiny bit of red. I kind of think of the red in this case more like a highlight rather than a full like color in and of itself. That's why I'm just using the lightest touch. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh, yes. I like that. Much fresher wounds here. So very much like that. I think that's a good one. Okay. So we've got some battle damage. He's got a little stumpy arm. We've got some scars. I think we're going to play around with the mouth a little bit now. Try and get a little bit more red in here. No, come on. Stay open. Fine. Fine. Be that way. That's why we keep all the clips and the tools around. Don't tell any of my costuming friends I just clipped a safety pin. Okay. So, I want the teeth to look used, and right now, his teeth feel very clean, you know? I'm thinking give it a little bit of kind of a brown ochring, and then go back in some very light red. Of course I used fabric scissors. What else am I supposed to use? God. This is also why I keep all this cardboard around, is because inevitably I'm going to bump into something that I'm going to be like, I need to do this, but I don't want to get paint or I don't want to get hot glue or whatever. So I keep a lot of miscellaneous bits and bobs. Yeah, exactly. Their teeth are very clean. So let's... Well, first off, let's try and clean that. Being a terrible person, forgetting to tidy up. Now, tiny bit of yellowing, and let's see if I'm okay trying to do this detail work. Okay, okay. There you go. Yellowing the teeth up a bit. Making it look like our poor dino doesn't have access to any kind of tooth care. And I'm more or less using kind of a dry brush technique here. So I don't want them to just be like, you know, smoker's teeth. Boop, boop, boop. You know, our dino doesn't have a 2-pack-a-day Marlboro habit, but he does not have adequate dental care where he lives. So, definitely want to get some yellowing in here. Try and touch the inside of the teeth as well. I don't mind if I get a little bit on his tongue. I don't think it's going to show up very well against the red, and I can always go back in and touch the mouth up again, or the red in the mouth up again. There we go. Well, that looks real yellow in the pictures. That's okay. Well, he doesn't have to eat carrion. Because one, he's not a real T-Rex, but also he does have a caretaker, you know, his quote-unquote owner. So feel like I'm trying to trim the nails of an uncooperative cat here, trying to find the right angles. Oop, that's a little bit heavy, but that's okay. It's going to be on the inside. No one cares about the inside. Yeah, he's been getting some fresh human recently, so I may actually end up giving him some dental issues, messing with his grill a bit, kind of like I did with the arm, just to kind of reflect that he is a battle dino, not just, you know, wandering around. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Definitely no longer white. That is for sure. A little heavier than I like in some places, but it works well, I think. Excuse me. Okay. Now let's get some of our red again. Let's go in and touch up his mouth a bit. He may not have just eaten, but I like the idea that his mouth is kind of a carnal hall in and of itself. Because if anyone ends up in there, I want them to feel absolutely threatened by that fact. What's funny is I may be doing all this effort and all this work, and they may not even end up fighting. They may end up siding with the owner of the T-Rex, in which case they will not fight against him. Unless they betray him at the end, which would be pretty funny. It would definitely be some interesting story moments. Oh. Okay. I saw chat move out of the corner of my eyes, and now I want to look, but I need to finish this a little bit up. It's the worst part about when I stream is I always want to be staring at chat, and that's not always the best thing to do, especially when you're trying to, you know, play games that require concentration, or conversely, if you're trying to do something that's very kind of detailed. Okay. I think that's a much scarier mouth than it was. Move him back. Look up at the camera, buddy. Rawr. There's kind of a shadow. There we go. Just got to tilt his head a little bit. Rawr. Okay. So there's two. No, that is very true. Let's be real. We've both been playing long enough so that we know. We know what's going to happen. We know they're just going to ignore all the plot hints and jump right off the deep end, as it were. But that's okay. I don't mind if they don't fight the druids, because I'm trying to make the druids sympathetic so that they can have their choice of who they want to side with. Okay. Well, let's get our brush or our sponge back out. Get a little bit more of this brown in here. A bit of that brown in here. There we go. My original plan, honestly, was to get some flocking. Pardon the camera shake. My cat has decided to come visit. My original plan was to get some flocking and add some little mossy bits to him. But then I ended up deciding not to. Which, you know, I think it'll be fine without. There we go. Just giving him a slightly different colored leg here, and then I'm going to go in and do a couple of touches with that black again. There we go. Love that. A little darker than I like, but that's why we come back in. Boop, boop. There we go. Come back in with some of that lighter bit. And match it back out. But that way he looks a little bit dirtier at least. Yeah. So what do you guys think so far? Definitely looks like he's seen some stuff. Kind of liking it so far. Now, we've got that. So here's the real question, guys. I'm thinking some red around the mouth. You know, like dried blood. Ha! So, a little bit of red. Blurp. Teeny tiny touch of black. Just get slightly darker. We're not going to use a whole lot. We discovered last time that was a mistake, but the tiniest little drop. There we go. And hey, we have a little stirrer now. A little more red. Hey, I was always terrible at color mixing. I always ended up with way too much paint. Because I could never quite get where I wanted it to be. And it would end up just being absurd amounts as I kept mixing and mixing trying to get to my color. Okay, let's see what that looks like. I like it. Very rusty red. Now, where is my teeny weeny brush? Okay. Come here, buddy. Have a seat here. I'm going to start on the insides because that'll be easier to hide. Oh, still a little too dark. Where's my... There it is. There we go. Brighten it up a bit. Okay. Could I have gone with just the plain red? Probably. Would that have been smarter? Very likely. But where would the fun in that have been, you know? There we go. A little bit purpley. Okay. Nope. Okay, well, I'm going to listen to myself, and I'm going to go back to the pure red, which I should have done in the first place. But, you know, why not waste some paint while I'm doing stuff, right? Makes perfect sense. I thought briefly about thought very briefly about trying to do some hot glue work with his mouth. I mean, I'm not going to deny that it definitely definitely is a waste at times. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking about using a little bit of glue to do some like some kind of drool or um, maybe a little bit of, you know, a little bit of blood coming off. One of the things I've learned in some of the making videos I've been watching is using some kind of sponge or something to wipe off most of what you paint on. So you just end up with kind of a little bit, almost a wash or a dry brush effect. And it seems to be working. I kind of like it. Giving him some red-tipped teeth. There we go. Having freshly eaten, you can see he's got a little bit of red on his teeth here now. I'm liking that. Okay, I dig it. I dig it. So my concern is, and I'm actually going to change things up, because my concern is if I keep fiddling with him too much, I'm going to end up hating it, and I really don't want that. So what we're going to do, we're going to set him aside for a few. He's going to live up there, and we are going to bring down his little headpiece. It's supposed to go something like this. I'm not sure I like it. I think it looks a little weird, and part of it does block his vision. So I'm not sure. I like it, but I hate it. I don't know. I feel like if I had some little leather strips, I could do some kind of little halter or bridle for him, but I don't. That's okay. We'll skip that. We'll skip that. Let me take one look at him kind of from a distance. Okay, add a little bit more. Kind of go with that violet that we created. Hey, that means that the paint isn't wasted because I'm using it now. See? Let's add in a couple more little weird lines. That's much more watery. Yeah, I thought about that, but then I'm going to go down that rabbit hole. Then I'm going to want to watch a bunch of videos, and then I'm going to get angry when it doesn't look like it does in the video. So I know myself, and if I let myself get frustrated with this, then it's going to end up either a giant train wreck or I'm never going to finish it. Just knowing how I feel about painting in general, I know that that's going to be a thing that I have to be concerned about. So, oh gosh darn it. Fortunately, it's a vinyl mat, so no real harm there. Okay, then I think as the final touch, I'm gonna go in, grab a little bit of our black. Boop, boop, boop. Good. One second. Ugh. Yeah. Okay, I can get to that in a minute. Okay, let's do something up around the neck because you know people are going to try and attack the neck or will have attacked the neck. We're going to start with kind of a black undertone to it. I'm going to make a big line there. Give that a couple seconds to dry while I change brushes. Okay. Now we go in for our red. And I don't mind if it wet blends a little bit. We want some red in that black. So I think this one is fairly recent. A little bit more red here. Oop. Yeah, the nice thing is these paints were $5 for the set, so not too worried if I've got to go back and get some more. Yeah. Again, is it perfect? No, not even a little bit. But is it enough? Yes. And to me, at this point, that's what matters because I've got to have the grace with myself that I give to others. And that's my little piece of advice to you for today is treat yourself with the kindness that you treat others around you. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm not saying forgive incompetence, but recognize that sometimes people are doing their best and their best is not up to the standards that you would normally prefer. And sometimes that has to be okay. Okay. We're going to go into our violet that we created. Oh, absolutely. No, it is an incredibly challenging thing to do. And it's going to take a lot of conscious effort for most people to be able to get to a point where they can. But that's why I mention it. It's not just a mentioning for you guys. It's actually also a reminder for me. Oh, he's got some kind of fresh thing going on. So I think what I'm going to do now is let this dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to put some hot glue on it. And at that point, I can then add a little bit of that violet, a little bit of that red, and then I think he's going to be done, guys, which is exciting. We'll see. Let me get the paints out of the way. What I really need is a gosh darn hair dryer. It's one of the things I've never really bothered with. Okay. You know what? I'm in a well-ventilated room. I'm just going straight on to him, guys. Being a rebel here. I'm back, grab my pen. A little bit of gooping it up a bit. It looks like he's having some real problems there. There we go. One of the neat things I learned over the last few years working with some props and stuff is if you wait until the glue is almost dry and then kind of give it a patting, you get some weird fun textures in it, which I think will work well for what I'm trying for here for a big, fresher injury. Of course, you don't want to do it when it's absolutely liquid like it is right now. Then you're going to scald yourself, but give it a little puff here and there. Of course, if you don't value your fingers or if you have a little bit of weirdness, like me, where you're like, well, heck, I don't mind getting a little burnt. The downside is if you're not careful, you can get more than a little burnt, and that is no fun at all. I don't remember which hand it's on anymore, but one of my hands now has a gnarly scar where you can't really see it in this lighting, but I have a super gnarly scar on my pinky between the last knuckle and the nail that happened because I was tapping some hot glue that was a little bit hotter than I thought it was. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Okay, we want detail for this, but we don't need super detail. Let's go with you. Okay, come here, buddy. And because I patted it while it was still pretty wet, it's going to get a tiny bit stringy, which I think, well, I'm hoping, is going to make it read kind of like a much fresher wound. So I've got to give some kind of weakness to this thing. Otherwise it's going to mash my party. I mean, I want it to be threatening for them and potentially deadly encounter, but I don't necessarily want them to actually die. It's supposed to be a fun game, and I have a bunch of new players, so I don't want to put them into the deep end because this is going to happen actually fairly soon. There we go. Oh, that's a good one. I don't know how well it'll read. Let me try and get him. Hold on. Let me grab. Let me grab a light. Oh, that's real bright. Now, this is what we're talking about here. Oh, you have a little string there. Let's get rid of that. But that's what we're looking at here. Give it a little bit of light. You can see a nice fresh wound here, some older ones. Got a little, this was my attempt. I notice I hit it on the tail here. Nope, away from it just enough to sidelight it. I really need to get some diffusion for my lights. Then of course we've got these guys here. And then, you know, we got something on his face. His mouth has been yellowed. His teeth have been yellowed. His mouth has been redded. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I know it's a shorter stream tonight, but I think that's gonna wrap it up. I think, guys. Before I go, I do want to show you. So we have Mr. Dino here, right? Tracy the T-Rex, and then this is the druid that Tracy here is a pet for. I know what you're thinking. No, she is not getting painted. I do not trust myself, right now anyway, to do any kind of painting for this. But she's got some amazing detail. I don't know. Will the camera focus on her? Kinda. But she's got some cool lanterns. I'm thinking I might get some little tiny LEDs to stick in there. Maybe have a little bit of fun. But I don't think I'm going to do anything painting her. I am absolutely terrified that I will mess it up if I do. Just be given my history working with miniatures. So I think she'll just live as Primer Gray. But anyway, I super duper appreciate, as does Tracy. See, rar. I super duper appreciate you stopping by tonight and hanging out. We're going to go ahead and call it a night. The next scheduled stream is on Friday for hashtag Fortnite Friday with the Unmute crew. But otherwise, I'll probably do something later this week. It may be the weekend, or it might be tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday, because today is only Monday. Oh my God. But keep an eye out. I will try and post so that you guys can see it. But I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day and a fantastic week. I look forward to seeing you again on the next stream. But until then, I will bid you adieu.